Did Dutch believe his own BS? Welcome to Geek Vibes Nation. I'm Tia, and this is a new series where we do character analysis on characters from movies, TV shows, and video games. You have probably seen me in other videos on this channel, but I am experimenting with this new format where I don't show my face in videos like this, just because I want my work to kind of speak for me, as opposed to other things that I've done, such as Tea Time with Tia, interviews, podcasts. Those I'll still be showing my face, but for something like this, I think I kind of like the idea of just speaking into the microphone and returning more to a podcast radio format that I frankly wanted to go into years ago. But anyway, with this character analysis series, we are hoping to kind of deep dive into characters in the fictional sense, and it could be on the character as a whole or little aspects of the character. So, the character that I will be speaking about today is Dutch Vanderlyn from the Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 video games by Rockstar Video Games. Um, the original Red Dead came out in 2010, and the prequel Red Dead Redemption 2 came out in 2018. So neither of these are new video games, but the characters and the story writing of both has kind of been um, just a great topic for discussion, as I think that these characters and stories are just so well written. And today I wanted to analyze Dutch Vanderlyn, the leader of the Vanderlyn gang. Um, just asking myself, did he believe in his own bullshit? In both of these games, we see this charismatic leader go from a hopeful outlaw to one of the best video game villains ever. In fact, I'd like to say that with the writing and the voice acting, he is one of the best written villains that I have frankly seen in a long time. I really, how do I say this? I wasn't even aware of this video game franchise prior to, I was sorry to say, prior to the pandemic, but that's because I've kind of been out of the video game world for a really long time up until the past year or so. But after playing Red Dead Redemption 2, I have been enamored by all of these characters, specifically Arthur Morgan, but we cannot talk about either of these games without talking about Dutch Vanderlyn. If you played the original game first, you are much more aware of who Dutch is as a person. But if you are like me and you started the series with the second game, you see Dutch as this father figure, teacher, and person who really cares about all of the people under him, at least for the first couple of chapters. But even in those chapters, it's very obvious that Dutch has very much an inflated sense of self, and that his plans were just insanely unrealistic. Um, this is 1899. The game Red Dead Redemption 2 even starts with telling you that the time for outlaws is gone. Yet Dutch is there acting as if they can still operate the way they have always operated, and that in fact they're not really these bad outlaws. They're just rebelling against the constrictive nature of the government, and that he wants to make this really great life for everyone, buy some land, which is very much what the first few chapters are. Dutch is very much, we're going to buy some land, even though I don't know where he thought he was going to buy land in this ever expanding world in the US. He quickly realizes that doing this in America isn't possible and that they need to get out of America and go to Australia or Tahiti and harvest mangoes. As a player, you're listening to this and you are saying to yourself, this is a pipe dream. And you feel bad for his group, the ones who believe him, because they're frankly naive and being fed false hope. But I sit there and think to myself, did Dutch actually believe that any of this was a viable option? Or did he only continue saying these things because in fact, like so many other people, are both money and power hungry? We see Dutch go from this no man left behind in the first few chapters. He is very adamant about rescuing Sean. He wants Jack back. He cares for everyone. But then later we see him wanting to essentially leave John in a very compromising situation that likely would have gotten him killed if Arthur and Sadie had not rescued him. And then we also see at the end of the main storyline when things are going very much awry, and Micah points out to Dutch that someone like Abigail is quote unquote, they're just women, Dutch, and Dutch agrees with that. But prior, he's making you believe that everyone in the group, whether they are the men or the women, are important. And we see a complete turn in all of this. And there are so many fantastic theories out there, amazing in-depth analysis. I want to say that one of the inspirations for this video actually comes in the form of this really great uh, YouTube video that I saw that I am actually getting it up right now as I do this. I want to be a little bit more prepared, but sometimes I just like free speaking. But there's this amazing YouTube video. It's called Analyzing Evil, Dutch Vanderlyn by The Vile Eye. It was released about 11 months ago. That is truly an amazing in-depth analysis of Dutch as a person. And I can't even begin to really go through this character to analyze it. But I wanted to talk about my thoughts as to whether or not I believe that Dutch ever believed truly that a life in Tahiti harvesting mangoes was even possible. And I am torn about this. I think that Dutch is egotistical enough that he really believed that they could get um off the island, sorry, that they could leave America, go to another country and just have this, calm life. Even though that in on itself seems extremely just unbelievable and impractical. You have a lot of members of your gang who have said numerous times that the only thing they know to do consists of killing, robbing, and other very illegal things. So the idea of someone, say, like Micah, would be able to just give that all up and live essentially on a compound with people who don't even really like each other at times and just live this very settler's life of harvesting mangoes and all that just seems, again, impractical. It doesn't seem realistic. I think that someone like Dutch and other people of the gang would get very bored of this sort of lifestyle and eventually leave. And that is why I then also think that Dutch knows that this is an unbelievable dream. I think he knows that it's a pipe dream, and I don't even think he really wants it. It's just that it is coming to it prior to 1899 and prior to the events of Red Dead 2. The gang operated in very much this free, nomadic, outlaw sort of lifestyle that was okay. It was okay for them to constantly be, moving. It was okay for them to commit crimes and just kind of live this very frontier sort of life. And Dutch wants to continue that even in the face of modernization, right? Just staring at all of them. And he can't simply say to his group, well, screw that. We're going to continue doing what we're doing. And who cares if we eventually get arrested or killed? Instead, because he has a lot of people in his group who aren't, say, Micah Bell or aren't even Arthur and John, because he doesn't have, because he has a lot of people in his group who are, say, people who don't necessarily want to live that type of lifestyle, he has to convince them that they are all doing this for a better life, that they are a family, that they are working towards a better life for themselves, looking to be legitimate and not outlaws, when in fact that was most likely never Dutch's plan. It's just he was stronger with a group of people around him. We see that after the events of RDR2. And I guess I should have said before that there's spoilers, but considering the games are so old by this point, specifically the first one, I would hope that goes without saying. But at the end of RDR2, even though in say a traditional like writing form, if RDR1 had never happened and RDR2 was a standalone, or then you were going to make a follow-up game after that, Dutch probably would walk away and maybe not go back to what he was doing prior to the epilogue of RDR2. But we see in RDR1, Dutch going back to his same format of taking those who, are forgotten and those who are maybe impressionable due to what they have gone through in life. And he has manipulated that into helping his own cause because he is such a megalomaniac. And if he does not have others who rely on him and believe the BS that he is spouting all the time, then Dutch almost as a person ceases to exist. We see how flourish he is when how flourish well we see how much he flourishes when people rely on him, when people praise him. We almost see this sort of change in him immediately once it seems as if he's being questioned, even though he likes to say that this is a group that isn't it's not a prison, people can come and go as they want. And I apologize if you hear any police sirens. I live in New York and I feel like that's just going to happen. And there's really nothing I can do about that. If I waited for there to never be police or ambulance sirens, I would probably never record. So, um, oh my God. Of course, it's continuing. Anyway, maybe I'll cut this out. I'm not sure. Sometimes I like being very, I don't know, just honest, I guess, in everyday life. So many things trying to be polished online when it's just not reality. Anyway, but Dutch is the person he needs to have people praise him. And we see even in RDR2, as soon as he feels that there's even slight bit of doubt from people, he immediately wants to cast them aside. Arthur was one of his right hand men. I mean, his right hand man really was Hosea, but Arthur had been with him since a young child, had been with him the longest next to Hosea. And we see that Dutch is so willing to throw Arthur aside once Arthur tries to talk sense into him. I mean, were so many patterns of just proof that their lifestyle was not working anymore. And Dutch did not care how much danger that put people in, because even when he witnessed Hosea and Lenny being killed, he still was adamant that they needed to go with the plan and to just trust him. So he was willing to cast Arthur aside. He was willing to cast John aside, all for that. That is why he then, looked towards Micah, who also had his own bad intentions with that. Micah never really liked Dutch in that degree. He just saw Dutch uh, in a way that he could profit off of Dutch's megalomania, which I mean, them two with their like manipulative tactics and just like to me, you know, sociopath. What's it called? How do I say it? With them just both being absolute sociopaths. I mean, they were a match made in hell, but I really at times do believe that Dutch himself didn't even believe in his own BS. He wanted to continue to live this Wild West sort of life and hated that it was coming to an end. And he hated that the writing was on the wall and that other people would have definitely left him if he hadn't lied to them essentially and told them that they were doing was for a different cause. Because even Hosea, right? We have Dutch who is, willing to get his hands dirty, who is, he loves that very like high octane sort of adventure. I mean, he has fun with it. And Hosea certainly gets into gunfights, but Hosea is much more of a theatrical man who enjoys just simply conning people. There's a difference between the type of crime that Hosea commits and the type of crime that Dutch commits. And I think that Dutch even saw his good friend Hosea not wanting to live the type of life that they end up living once Hosea dies. And Dutch even needed to convince Hosea, and it was Hosea's friendship with Dutch that had him kind of almost not even believe, because sometimes part of me thinks that not Dutch, that Hosea didn't even believe in Dutch's BS, but that he knew that without Hosea knew that without himself, Dutch would fall apart. And we see that and it's not even Dutch falling apart, it's that his true nature comes to light because you had someone like Hosea keeping him at bay for so long. And you can say, well, Hosea left for a little bit when he was married, and, Dutch didn't go out, off the deep end at that point, but it was the way Hosea died, and it was the world that they lived in. Before that, the world they lived in could still sustain his facade without falling apart too much. So essentially, I don't want to make this video too long, but I could probably ramble on and on and on just because I love the world of Red Dead so much and I love just dissecting all of the characters because in so many ways I don't even see them necessarily as video games. I mean, yes, obviously video games you play them, but the writing is so good, the emotions are so good, the voice acting are so good. I of course have to give it out to Benjamin Byron Davis, the voice actor for Dutch Vanderlyn, because without his phenomenal performance, we probably would not have been stuck on this character as much as we are. Um, in RDR1, obviously, Dutch isn't, he's he's still trying to be charismatic, but he's still very much the person that we saw in chapter 6 in RDR2. So it is interesting. I mean, there are slight little hints of Dutch being a redeeming character at times. But not entirely. I mean, yes, Dutch in part kills Micah in the epilogue. I know that you as John shoot Micah, kind of giving the final blow, but the shot that Dutch takes at Micah, if not treated, would have definitely killed Micah either way. So you can say Dutch realized his wrong at the end of RDR2, but seeing as where he's at in RDR1, he clearly didn't learn that lesson for very long. So, did Dutch believe in his own BS? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this character. and let us know how you thought of the Red Dead Redemption story arc. Did you like the first one better? Did you like the second one better? Who do you like more, Arthur Morgan or John Marston? That's always a topic of debate, it seems. And what are your thoughts on Dutch Vanderlyn as a character in general? Would you like to hear more analysis on Red Dead Redemption characters or other video game characters? I could probably do an entire episode talking about Nico Bellic from GTA 4, and then also movies and TV shows if there's character analysis that you'd love for us to do. I mean, I also could do an entire video on someone like Viserys Targaryen III from Game of Thrones. That's Daenerys's brother, by the way, not to be confused with the amazing performance that Patty Constantine did in House of the Dragon, but the actual amazing performance I believe Harry Lloyd did in Game of Thrones. Anyway, different video if you guys would be interested in hearing that. If not, I did do a bit of an analysis article that you can find on geek5snation.com. But if you are not subscribed, please make sure that you are. We offer amazing videos, interviews, movie reviews, TV show reviews, and the news. We have just crossed the 3,000 subscriber mark, which is just so much better than anything we could have hoped for. I mean, we started our YouTube journey literally during the lockdown, and to see the growth that we've experienced is just, it's amazing. And I think those who are subscribed, who do watch this, and those who even aren't subscribed but watch us from time to time, thank you so much. Let me know if you like this format, and I would definitely love to be back with another episode. But in the meantime, this is Tia for GVN. It was wonderful to speak with you all, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.